You know, we had a really good off week last week, had an opportunity to get back to a lot of fundamentals, which was good for a lot of our guys. You know, I was thinking about over the weekend, I think there's probably 10 guys that have started for us at some point in time this season that wasn't here during spring, and there's probably another 8 to 10 guys that play a lot that wasn't here. So it was good to kind of go back and get some fundamental work and go back to kind of some foundations, you know, on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. Unfortunately, we did lose a player for a few weeks. Trayvon Flowers dove to intercept the ball the other day and broke his collarbone, but he's had surgery and he'll be back in a few weeks. So it's unfortunate for him because he really had improved in the last 2 or 3 weeks and had a great off week this past week. So, but we'll be without him moving forward. You know, got a tremendous challenge this week going to Auburn. You know, Auburn's a very difficult place to play, and they've got a very good football team, very good on defense. I think they're one of the top defensive teams in the country. They're really big up front, got a really good front seven, play man-to-man in the back end a whole lot, can do that, deny the ball, lots of pressure on the quarterback, and they can do it with just their front four. You know, offensively, Gus has always done a really good job running the football, making you play from sideline to sideline, creating explosive plays in the run and pass game, giving you a bunch of different looks. They play really fast, got an experienced quarterback, got good wide receivers. You know, Chandler Cox seems like he's been playing forever. And then got a couple of running backs that are big and physical. So it'll be a tremendous challenge for us in their kicking game. Got good specialists. I think they've returned a punt and a kickoff for a touchdown. They've blocked 3 kicks this year, so they got a lot of runners and strikers on their special teams, and they got good guys returning it in the back end. So will definitely be a huge challenge for us, but our guys, I think, are looking forward to it. I know I'm excited to get back out on the field and get a chance to prepare for somebody. You know, and I think it'll, you know, just trying to kind of talk to our guys. They don't have any history of playing Auburn. You know, and I think especially on the defensive side, you know, there's a lot of awareness that you need. So we've got to do a good job getting these guys prepared for this week. So with that, any questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, will Todd Kelly Jr. factor maybe into the defensive game plan now as you evaluate options with Trayvon being out for a few weeks?
You know, Todd is he's continuing to work to get back. I think he played a little bit on special teams last week. He did get a chance to participate in the off week, so he's taking baby steps, which is a credit to him because he had a severe injury and having to work hard to come back from it. It'd been easy for him to just say, you know what, I'm just going to move on. I'm going to be done with football, but he's not. He's came back and he's worked extremely hard, so he's getting a little bit better each week.
For Auburn, Stidham's coming off kind of a tough performance Saturday, and his numbers don't seem to be quite what they were last year. I'm just wondering, when you're looking at Auburn on film, what do you notice about Stidham, and do you notice any difference in what he's doing this year versus last year when you faced him?
Well, you know, I think they've had to replace some guys up front. You know, if you look last week, you know, in the ball game, there's a touchdown that they're this far away from it being a touchdown. So had several opportunities, but you know, I've played against this guy before. This guy's got great arm talent. He has an understanding of what he does, what they want him to do offensively. He's got good guys around him. He can make all the throws. He can hurt you with your feet or with his feet. So I think he's a tremendous quarterback, and it'd definitely be a huge challenge for us.
Jeremy, if you have an offensive line that's struggling a little bit, are there things you can do to help it, whether it's scheme or play calling or anything else?
Well, I think you know, if you look at what we're trying to do, we've got a lot of new guys that are playing. Some of them are playing new positions. They're playing together. You know, 5 weeks now they've been together. So, you know, you can leave tight ends in to protect. You know, you can try to checking the run game to make sure that you're running into the right looks. I mean, to me, the big thing is you got to get the guys to play hard. You got to get them to know what to do. You got to get them to play with the right technique, the right body angles, and learn to finish. And you just, to me, you got to do what they know. Don't ask them to do things they can't do.
David Upton from Jesse.
Jeremy, when you look at what Jarrett's done, what have you liked the most to the first 5 games, and what do you need to see him improve the most over the next 7?
I think Jarrett's just like everybody else in our football team. He's had bright spots, just like a lot of guys. I think we're looking for consistency with all of our players. I think that's if you look at this past weekend, the teams that had success, I'm sitting there flipping the channels just watching different teams play. Folks that have experience that can do it over and over and over again the right way seem to have success. So that's what we're looking for with all of our players.
Jeremy, you mentioned that this team doesn't have any experience against Auburn. Gus, Nick, and Kirby, I think, and a couple other coaches have come out in favor of a 9-game schedule. Now that you're a head coach, where do you kind of stand on that, kind of going through the SEC for this first year?
A 9-game SEC schedule? You know what? I got a lot more things that I need to be working on than trying to figure out how the SEC should schedule. So I'm just going to try to work on the things that I can control, which is here at Tennessee.
Jeremy, are there any specific areas where you feel like this team improved or something it accomplished during the bye week?
Well, I know we worked really hard going back to tackling. I know we worked really hard in fundamentals, just blocking, block protection. Just kind of went back to the ABCs of, what you do during spring ball, what you do in fall camp, which we need. I mean, we had a lot of guys that didn't get to do that during camp. So, and we got guys that are inexperienced. We got guys who have experience and maybe are not doing it at the highest level. So it's good for everybody. It's good competition. The only way I know how to get better at something is to go do it, and that's what we did this past week.
Jeremy, I think you've faced Auburn and Gus each of the past 5 years as the defensive coordinator. What makes that offense sort of difficult to defend, and what are some, defensive principles that you need to stick to have success against them?
Well, I think you need to keep your edges. These guys do a really good job running the football. They create a lot of explosive plays out on the perimeter, so you got to have good edges, which to make them block you to begin with. I think you got to eliminate explosive plays in the pass game. You need to get them in third and long yardage. If you don't, and you give them run-pass options, they're really tough to defend. Not saying that they're not in long yardage. Last year, it's probably the difference in the ball game is converting third downs when I coached against them. So we got to get off the field on third down. You need to hold them to field goals in the red area. You got to find ways to get some turnovers. So, and that's all the things I just said is probably every week, but I know that's against these guys it's going to be important.
Coach, against Georgia, Balaam Buchanan played inside at the nickel or the star. What do you like about him there? And did you like what you saw out of him there, and that's something you'll look at moving forward?
Well, I think we're trying to find ways to get our best players on the field. Balin's a guy that ability-wise could actually play corner and play inside. He had played a little bit of money on third down. He's a guy that, I guess from a mental standpoint gets it. He's got a good understanding. He's got to improve tackling. He's got to be a better blitzer. He's got to be more physical. If you're going to play in there's a lot more action. He's plenty capable of doing it, but he needs to raise his level of play if we're going to play him in there.
Coach, Auburn is 12 for 43 on third down over the last 3 games and has only rushed for 277 yards. What does your defensive line have to do, and especially probably the play calling with blitzes, to be able to force Auburn in those third downs and try to continue this of what they're doing?
Well, Gus has always given you multiple personnels, you know, excuse me, but they do a great job of, you know, making you play from sideline to sideline. They play really fast on offense, very multiple. You got to recognize formations. You got to recognize where people's at. And, you know, to me, his teams have always gotten better as the season has gone. Most of the time when we've coached against them has always been at the very end. And they're really dangerous when they get going. And, you know, to me, they've been just right there at it every game. You can watch all the games. There's just a play or two there they've just barely missed on to kind of get them going. So, you know, we've got to do a good job of slowing them down on first down. Again, like I said, keeping our edges. Got to tackle better. They got big, strong players, big, strong running backs. They're rocket sweep guys. Are tough to get on the ground. So, and we got to keep them cut off in the back end to make them earn it.
Wanted to see, where do you feel the depth of your secondary is at right now with the loss to Flowers, and if there's anybody specific you might be expecting bigger things from, a bigger role for now with him out for the next few weeks?
Well, you know, Trayvon played pretty much the whole part of the last half of the Georgia game, so and made a nice pick one time when we jumped off sides. So he had really improved in the last several weeks. You know, we've got guys that's played multiple positions, so it'll probably be the same guys that have been playing before Trayvon started playing. So we'll see how it goes this week.
Jeremy, from game one to now, where are you a little bit better than you thought you might be, and where are you perhaps not as far along as you thought you might be?
Well, I think if you look at on both sides of the ball in the kicking game, there's been some bright spots through the first 5 weeks, you know, and then there's been lots of inconsistency. So I really couldn't say one spot is further along than what I thought it would be, or one spot's further behind. I think if you look at the whole part, our entire team needs to improve on execution and being consistent in everything that we do.
Jeremy, do you have any more respect or feel any sort of a connection with guys like Gus who made their name in the high school ranks like you did?
Well, I have several good friends on Auburn staff, guys that I've worked with before, some guys I went to school with. So I got a tremendous amount of respect for what he's done and the people on his staff. They got one of the best coaching staffs in the country. They do a fantastic job. And every year that we've played them, it's always been a really good kind of battle, you know. So hopefully it'll be the same way this year.